In this lesson, we're going to define what product feed optimization actually is and why it's different from just having a product feed. Most e-commerce businesses already have a feed, but what they don't have is an optimized feed. Understanding that difference is critical if you want to improve performance at scale, especially when you consider your product feed is responsible for 100% of the search terms your shopping ads appear for. Product feed optimization is the process of structuring, enriching, and maintaining product data so that advertising platforms and marketplaces can correctly understand, match, and prioritize your products. It's not about changing how your product looks on the website, it's about improving how the machines interpret your data. Optimization focuses on clarity, consistency, relevancy, and completeness. The goal is to give platforms the strongest signals about what it is that you sell and who it's relevant for. This distinction is important. Feed creation is about getting product data from your website into a usable format. It answers the question, can this data be submitted to platforms like Google Merchant Center? Feed optimization, on the other hand, answers a different question. Is the data relevant enough to perform well by matching the right search queries? A feed can be technically valid and still perform poorly. Optimization begins after the feed exists. Advertising platforms don't read feeds the way humans read product pages. They rely on structured attributes, consistent naming, clear categorization, and predictable patterns. So feed optimization is about shaping data so it works at machine scale. So that means building titles that clearly describe products, using product types and categories consistently and correctly, populating identifiers wherever possible, keeping your inventory and shipping data up to date, and removing ambiguity from the data so that the clearer structure, the easier it is for platforms to match the products to that demand. Google publishes best practice guidance around this, especially for product title, attributes, and categorization, and it's a good place to ground your feed optimization decisions. At a high level, Google recommends that product titles clearly describe the product, include the most important attributes, avoid unnecessary repetition, and prioritize information that users actually search for. In practice, that means structuring titles using a logical, consistent order, for example, brand plus your product type plus key attributes such as size, color, material, model, or gender, depending on the product and industry. Google also recommends using accurate, specific language, avoiding promotional phrases, and avoiding keyword stuffing, and also ensuring that titles match what's actually on the landing page. The same principles apply to other attributes. For example, product type should reflect how you want products grouped internally, not just broad categories. This will also come into effect in your campaign decision making. Identifiers like GTIN and MPN, they should always be populated wherever they're available. Your variant attributes, such as size and color, they should only be used when they're genuinely relevant, because what matters here most is alignment. Titles, categories, identifiers, and attributes should all reinforce the same understanding of what the product is. In our experience, the biggest performance gains that we see, it's when the feed is structured around how people actually search, not how the product is listed internally. Far too often it's said that PPC managers can only control search terms by adding negatives. That isn't true. Search term coverage is heavily influenced upstream at the feed level, especially with your product titles. In most cases, titles are pulled directly from a website's meta title or H1, and that's why it's so important to be able to optimize titles within a feed itself without then impacting or changing the website. If that separation isn't possible, then it's important to consider the impact on SEO, how products rank organically, and whether changes benefit paid performance at the expense of organic visibility. Optimizing product titles can increase relevant impressions, improve query matching, reduce wasted ad spend, but can also support stronger conversion rates. But the word order is critical. Google weighs the importance of words in the product titles from left to right, so the most important information should always come first. For example, women's Nike Air Max 720 trainers, size 5, black, will typically match more relevant demand than Nike Air Max 720 shoes, black, size 5. You generally have around 70 characters where the strongest relevant signals are picked up, so front loading does matter. Internally, if brand isn't required to drive relevance, key differentiating attributes may be prioritized instead. For example, leading with double mattress size rather than the brand name. This allows reach to be deliberately broadened or narrowed depending on the performance goals. An often overlooked attribute is images. High-quality images can have an immensely positive impact on your performance, not only both visually to the customer, but for your Google high-quality score. Feed quality has a direct impact on performance. It influences which queries products can appear for, how relevant they appear in auctions, how quickly platforms can learn, and how efficiently budget is spent. When campaign quality is weak, campaigns hit an invisible ceiling. When feed quality improves, performance improves across every campaign that relies on that data. And this is why feed optimization is one of the most scalable levers in e-commerce advertising. A static feed is one that rarely changes. It contains basic data pulled from the site and it's left largely untouched. An actively optimized feed evolves over time, where data is reviewed, issues are identified, attributes are refined, and performance feedback is used to then guide improvements. Instead of reacting to performance issues in campaigns, optimization happens earlier in the process at the data level, and that's where long-term gains come from. As you think about your own feed, here are a few questions worth considering. Are all your product identifiers present and structured correctly? Are titles, categories, and attributes aligned with the searches you want to appear for? In the next lesson, we'll look at which feed attributes matter the most and how to prioritize optimization efforts for maximum impact.